Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 1, Arrange Disposal. Chapter 1 Arrangement for Disposal. In the presidential suite of the Kerry Hotel in City A woman in a light blue business suit is standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows with a glass of red wine staring at the night. She will leave the city early tomorrow morning. She has made a will, and all the shares, movable and real estate in her name will be donated after her death. It is used for medical assistance provided by Uni Fund to poor students and poor people in poor areas. I don't know what the face of those people know that they can't get anything after calculating for a long time. The reason why she stayed in the hotel under her name and didn't want to go back was because she didn't want to see the so-called relatives at home, and wanted to let herself be at ease in the last days of her life. There was no one or anything she cared about in that home. When she left this morning, she had put all the things she needed to take with her into the space. Tomorrow morning, she was going to set out along the places where her parents had been, and she had drawn a route by herself to see the scenery of some places there. Feel the customs of those places in the mouths of parents. Also a dream come true. Xiao Yuni's father's hometown is in the countryside. There are 3 brothers and sisters in the family. There is a brother above and a younger sister who is twins with him. Later, her father went to college and left the countryside to go to college in the city. I met my mother in college. Xiao Yuni's mother is the only daughter, and the family has countless industries handed down from her ancestors. My grandfather also runs a large company, so Xiao Yuni is a collection of thousands of pets. Unfortunately, when Yuni was 13 years old, his grandfather passed away due to illness. In the inheritance division letter left in advance, 60% of the company's shares belonged to Xiao Yuni. As for personal property, all of it was inherited by his granddaughter Xiao Yuni. Effective later. If there is an unfortunate death before adulthood, the part that belongs to Yuni will be used as the startup fund to establish the Yuni Help Foundation to donate to those poor families who need assistance. The remaining 20% of the shares are owned by her daughter Yuni. The company was managed by professional managers before Xiao Yuni became an adult, and Xiao Yuni took over after he became an adult, because Yuni started to press clouds from a very young age. His successor came to cultivate. After my grandfather passed away and my mother rested for a while, I made a decision to say that life is too short and impermanent. I want to go out with my father and feel the great rivers and mountains of the motherland. In this way, these 2 irresponsible parents left Yuni. Live alone and walk away. Most of the time after that, I will send some local specialties at intervals, and then I will give my daughter a video every few days, and I also made an electronic travel journal for my daughter, recording the customs and daily chores of the places I traveled. After Yuni celebrated her 15th birthday, her parents died in a traffic accident on the way to Qinghai. Yuni was originally a child who didn't grow up. He just got out of the grief of his grandfather's death, and when he received news of his parents' accident, he fainted all of a sudden. When she woke up and saw her parents again, she was already in the funeral home. When she saw her parents, Yunijin thought that she should go together, so as not to leave her alone, but she thought of her grandfather's dying instructions. Thinking of the love of her grandfather and her parents for her, she couldn't ignore it. On the contrary, she had to live well and take the place of her parents. Sending off her parents, Yuni started a seemingly depressed life. She didn't say a word except studying. At this time, her father's family moved into the house under the pretext of taking care of her. I had some concerns at the beginning, but after half a year, I guess I was fascinated by the extravagant life in the city. It's just that they don't know that whether it's her grandfather or her parents, she made a will before her death. If Yuni dies unexpectedly, all assets will be included in the Yuni Relief Fund. They only knew that Yuni would inherit a lot of inheritance when he became an adult, and they began to imagine the life after these properties belonged to them. When Yuni was almost 18 years old, they began to give Yuni a chronic poison. It would not be fatal in a short period of time, but her body would gradually become tired, and Yuni did not disappoint her grandfather. He completed all his studies before the age of 20 and over-completed. And all kinds of talents have not fallen, and even signed up for taekwondo, sanda classes, and even cooking classes, just to distract attention. Entered Yun's group at the age of 21, took over the consortium completely 1 year later, and the company's performance doubled 5 years later. Of course, at this moment, she found that her body was slowly deteriorating. Once in the middle of the night, she felt uncomfortable and wanted to go downstairs to find some water, but unexpectedly heard the words of her father's relatives who were giving her chronic poison. Hearing them mean the toxicity is starting to show up now, and soon they will be able to take over the company rightfully. Next, Yini asked private detectives to start investigating the relatives on his father's side. The evidence was conclusive. At the same time, he started to go abroad to check his body and confirmed that he was indeed poisoned and was powerless. There was still about a year left. Since Yini got the exact time, he started to prepare, and collected the assets under his name. Except for Yun's, he did not move, and all the real estate in his hands was not moved except the house where he lives now. The rest are all shot, and the money is donated several times to nursing homes and orphanages in remote areas in the name of Yun's, his deceased grandfather, and his parents. In the study, when I opened the safe left by my grandfather again, I took out the treasures left to her. These things were left to her by my grandfather. I remember that my grandfather joked that it was a dowry for his little Yuni baby. Carefully rubbing these objects, tears burst. Why do people who love me leave me, even if I leave more things for myself? What is the use? I miss you so much, I miss you so much. When Yuni was heartbroken, tears fell on a piece of jade pendant in his hand. The jade pendant was of excellent quality and exquisite craftsmanship. The pattern of the jade pendant seemed to be made of bamboo and there was an incomprehensible animal head in the middle. And the jade pendant faintly seems to have something flowing inside. Suddenly, Yini disappeared in place, and when Yini woke up and confirmed that she was not dreaming, it was clear that the place she was in was a paradise. What you can see from the space is a piece of fertile farmland, which is estimated to have an appearance of 50 or 60 acres. There are 2 mountains in the distance, and there is a large waterfall in the middle. On the right side of the place where he was standing, there was a 2-story brick and tile yard. The waterfall formed a river and ran along the field. The bamboo forest behind the yard was gone. Yuni couldn't believe it. After a night of exploration, it is generally clear that this is a jade pendant space. The specific origin of the space is unclear. There are only manual records left by previous generations of space owners. It is a storage space that has a source of life but cannot be upgraded. Means that in addition to having a large underground storage warehouse, the space can keep fresh. The space is what we see now and will not change again. What can change is that the planting species can be freely adjusted and planned. The yard is very delicate. A osmanthus book on the left is blooming with osmanthus flowers. Under the osmanthus tree are a round table and stools made of white jade. There is also a set of expensive white jade teapots with 6 teacups on the table. On the right side, there are several vines of different varieties, and under the grape trellis in the middle, there are also exquisite teapots. There is also a well behind the courtyard gate, and the water in the well is clear. The yard we're entered is mainly where the 2 previous owners lived, just 2 rooms each, with the main room in the middle. There is a large collection of books in 1 bedroom and 1 study. In the second yard at the back, except the box room on the left is the kitchen and warehouse, and the bathroom on the right is the bathroom. The 5 main rooms have the same structure as the front yard, but these 5 rooms have stored a large amount of gold, silver and jade, antique calligraphy and painting. Cloth, silk, embroidery, high-quality ready-to-wear shoes and socks, both for men and women, from childhood to adulthood, various seeds, and many other items that Yuni did not know, they were probably collected by the previous 2 owners. There is an entrance to the underground warehouse in the second entry yard warehouse. Yuni went down and looked at it. It was really big and there were a lot of things in it. Except for some gold, silver and jade ware, antique calligraphy and paintings, most of them were food, medicinal materials, fruits, and various meat products. Eggs, and a lot of cooked food. This may be because the food produced in the space is stored here, and it can be kept fresh. Yini felt that it was incredible when she was complacent about space. Could it be the end of the world, or there would be space to appear, and since she had space, she has been drinking water from the well of space. Although my health is still not good, it is much better than before, so while dealing with things after leaving, I secretly purchased a mobile villa, which contains a full set of fine home appliances, furniture and daily necessities. Diesel generators, wind turbines and even hydroelectric power generation equipment were purchased in the waterfalls and the space, all of which have been purchased several sets, including gasoline, diesel and even motor oil to ensure the normal operation of the villa for 100 years. The villa was placed on a piece of grass on the right side of the space yard. Originally, it was customized according to the size of this open space. In order to save space, Yini deliberately increased the number of floors. Originally, he wanted to come to the second floor, thinking that the rest of the space has been planned for planting, and it is not easy to build a house, so the direct customization is the fifth floor. After the placement, I bought a lot of construction tools, carpenter tools, and carving tools. After I came back, I did the water and sewage work of the villa, which was perfect. In the name of helping friends to open a big supermarket, people bought a lot of items, home appliances, furniture, bedding, cloth, tissue paper, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, all kinds of pots and pans, kitchen utensils, seasonings, finished men's clothing, women's clothing, children's clothing, shoe. Books of various industries, industry operation videos, electronic products, various ornaments, various handicrafts, trinkets, various seeds, saplings, food, various beverages, tobacco and alcohol. Anyway, everything that a large supermarket should have and should not have are all directly contacted with the production site and purchased in large quantities, stored in a designated warehouse, and harvested a lot after a period of time. After my own affairs are dealt with, I will be notified that I don't need to go and transport it. I have chosen a time to sort and store it in the underground warehouse. This underground warehouse is really a treasure. Ah! Some readers asked, knowing that she will die soon, how could the heroine think of saving so many things, and still maintain the operation of the villa for 100 years? The author's idea is that the heroine gets space and worries that if the end of the world is coming, and she is not dead, it is better to prepare more things for peace of mind, maybe it can help more people. Thank you all the little cuties who clicked in, thank you for your support. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 2, Pass Through. Chapter 2 Crossing. Xiao Yini came out of the house this morning and put all the things left by her grandfather and herself into the space villa, and the villa was sold today, and she promised to collect the house in 5 days. As a father's daughter, she didn't want to worry about the life and death of those so-called family members. They didn't belong here, but out of love for her father, she didn't do anything. Because the grandparents are still alive, as their granddaughters, they left a separate account of 2 million in the foundation for them. This money is not given to them all at once. It will take effect from the next month after Yini leaves. On the first day of each month, 5,000 yuan will be credited into their account as pension money for father. These yunis are all written in the will, and they also leave a separate document with legal effect in the foundation. The money is paid by themselves, but the foundation is supervised and distributed as required. This morning, Yini went to the 4S store to pick up the remaining 6 vehicles, a medium box truck, a minivan, a medium BMW X3, a Hummer H2, a Mercedes-Benz C-Class, a Skoda was all put into space, which was sent in for maintenance ahead of time. I carried a backpack and started my own leisurely journey. I traveled all over the country's great rivers and mountains, collected a large number of species, specialties and snacks from all over the country, and experienced different customs in various regions. During this period, I also learned medical skills from an old Chinese medicine doctor for a period of time. She has space to bless her. She learns it quite fast. The old Chinese medicine doctor also praised her for her talent in medicine. When she was happy, she bought a lot of books on Chinese and Western medicine. After playing domestically, I started a foreign trip. I stopped in this way, except for the North and South Poles, and basically visited all of them. I bought a large amount of crude oil in the Middle East and asked a local factory to refine it, sort it out, and store it well. I don't think I could finish the wine in France in a few lifetimes. I also bought a few sets of simple winemaking tools and learned how to make liquor and wine. Anyway, in a word, you can go wherever you go, buy where you go, and the items stored in the space will not be used up for a few lifetimes, and you can buy what you see, and the origin is indeed cheap. After completing the last leg of the journey, Yini thought about going back to China to find a place with beautiful scenery to settle down before making plans. He also contacted China by phone to know that the relatives on his father's side had returned to their hometown. Yuni is inhuman and unfilial. Later, the police came to the door, and Yuni's lawyers produced evidence and video of their poisoning, as well as the hospital's medical certificate and the video left by Yuni. Knowing that the matter was exposed, the Yun family begged Yun Yikan to forgive them for the sake of the late father Yun. Yuni coldly looked at the Yun family across the video. Everyone is an adult. If you do something wrong, you have to bear the consequences. Besides, you have violated the law, and there is nothing I can do. She can still leave pension money for the two elders, which is already the limit. After finishing things, Yuni entered the space. The space now is different from when she first got it. The land in the space has been divided by Yuni, and various grains, vegetables, medicinal materials, and flower beds are planted. The mountain is also planned to be planted with various precious trees in the distance, and various fruit trees in the vicinity. It can be said that the species in the north and south of this space are basically complete. Yuni bought a small excavator in Shandong, and dug 2 ponds at the foot of the mountain opposite the creek. One led the stream to raise freshwater species, and the other was harvested by Yuni to raise a lot of seawater to raise marine species. On the mountain, there are many chickens, ducks, geese, rabbits, horses, cows, sheep, wild boars, and deer, all of which are edible animals. Several nets were pulled down at the foot of the mountain to prevent animals from descending the mountain for crops. The 2 ponds are also placed on the mountain area, which is convenient for the ducks and geese to live and find food, and a net is also drawn to prevent them from going to the waterfalls and creeks and spoiling the water quality. Because there are a lot of medical books in the study in the yard, Yuni bought a lot of utensils for processing Chinese medicine, including many medical tools and machines for Western medicine, not to mention a lot of injections and medicines. The flowers in the garden were not wasted, and several sets of modern tools and simple tools for extracting essential oils were purchased. In addition to these, a large number of electric manual threshing machines, flour grinders, rice threshing machines, various processing machines, automatic sprinklers are installed on the fields, and many sets are also stored. Now the space can be said to be prosperous. On the plain, Yuni was closing her eyes to recuperate, thinking about finding a livable town in the future, and after a few days of idyllic life, the plain suddenly vibrated violently, and then nothing happened. When Yuni woke up again, he didn't know what happened. This house seemed to be in ancient times. The house was quaint. Could it be saved by someone? I was a little thirsty, so I wanted to get up to find water to drink, but who can tell me whose hand belongs to me? This is not my own. When I opened it up again, I saw that the body wasn't my own. At first glance, this body was in my teens, but I was 29 and 30 years old. Who can tell me what is going on? No, don't tell me I've transmigrated. How is this possible? Was stunned for a long time and couldn't figure it out, and then he thought that even if he could appear in the space, he was still short of crossing. But what is the situation now, thinking that this body is so bad that he couldn't even get up and lay back on the bed? Looking around, no one was there, and after confirming that the space was still there, he took a glass of well water from the space and drank it, and fell asleep in a daze. In her sleep, the growth of a little girl flashed one by one. The little girl is also called Yuni, but her surname is Zhan Yuni. There are 4 countries in this continent. They are Longteng, Wanchao, Dongjun, and Yunli. The little girl was born in Longteng country. She is the 13-year-old daughter of the second house of Huaiyang Hofu of Longteng country. She was supposed to be a lively and happy age, but now she is sick. More than March. It is also the misfortune of the little girl. She was originally loved by her father until she was 10 years old, but 3 years ago, her father took his younger brother, who is 3 years younger than Yuni, to do errands. On the way back, he encountered a road robbery. Originally came forward to fight the injustice, but the girl who was rescued was entangled in order to lose her innocence. She had to ask for an explanation. When the matter was cleared up, she found that her 7-year-old son was not around. The search for people in the surrounding area was unsuccessful, so she had to take the rescued girl back to the mansion to report a letter. When Yuni's mother heard the news, she fainted. She mobilized the whole manor's power to search for it but no result. From then on, the father felt ashamed of his first wife, he lost his firstborn son and dared not face it, and the mother could not forgive his father's son who ignored his first-class relatives in order to save others. In the end, his son was lost, and he brought back a concubine, so that the husband and wife were drifting apart and became strangers. Yun Yi's mother lost her son and was troubled by heart disease. As early as last summer, Yun Yi's mother probably felt that her time was short, and she was afraid that she would not be able to endure it. I got 80,000 taels of silver, plus the income from the farms and shops in my hands over the past few years, and the silver taels from the bottom of the box when I got married. I made up a total of 150,000 taels, and I privately gave my dowry list and silver bills to my daughter. Told his daughter to keep the dowry that was given to her by her mother, and she could not tell anyone. In the following days, Xiao Yuni would come over every day when her mother was awake, and her mother would tell her about the central government, accounting management, how to employ people, know people, and arrange a lot of homework for Xiao Yuni. Qin, chess, calligraphy, and painting did not let her down, and even specially asked the nanny to go back to her mother's house, Wu Guogong, and asked her family to find a good embroidered mother in Beijing to teach Yuni, and arrange her daughter's back path as much as possible. After I left, it was inevitable that my daughter would suffer, but what could I do? Fortunately, my daughter had married Lu Qingbin, the second son of Jingning Ho's house 3 years ago. The days passed in such a hurry. More than 4 months ago, the mother, Zhan Lin, ran out of oil. Before she left, she handed over all the deeds of the slaves around her to her daughter, and told her to take care of herself in everything. If something happens, I must report it to my grandfather. I leave with concern for my son and daughter, and hatred for my husband. Sending away my mother, Yun Yi, also fell ill. Although the whole mansion tried his best to save the original owner Xiao Yuni, he still didn't make it and let Xiao Yuni in the modern 21st century come through, which is also drunk. Figured out the ins and outs, Yuni also woke up and calmed down. What else could be done? Let's be safe as soon as you come, and drink a cup of well water in the space, feeling better. It should have just fallen into the night, and when I was no longer sleepy, I looked at the room. There was a lamp on the table in the middle of the room, and the wick was cut very short. So the light in the room is very dark, and the furnishings are relatively luxurious. It seems that either the Ho's mansion is rich, or the mother, Lin, loves her daughter. Raised her hand to support her, she felt something uncomfortable in her neck. She reached out to touch it, but found a jade pendant that was very similar to her own space jade pendant. What's going on? Could it be because of this jade pendant? I didn't find anything wrong after looking at it for a long time. Suddenly I remembered something, and hurriedly found a needle from the sewing basket beside the bed. He closed his eyes and stabbed it down, dripping blood on the jade pendant, but he didn't respond for a long time. Could it be that he was wrong, thinking that he had come to this strange world inexplicably? Suddenly, a burst of sad tears dripped down onto the jade pendant involuntarily, and the jade pendant disappeared in an instant, which frightened Yun Yi, and could not care about the grief of the disciple. When Yun Yi saw the space, he was a little stunned. Didn't he say that this space can't be upgraded? So what's the situation now? The space is much larger than the original one. There is an antique 3-story building in the second entry yard near the creek. The opposite of the original creek can be seen from the bottom of the mountain. The other places outside the 2 ponds dug by Yun Yi were covered with white fog. Now there is a grassland of about 30 acres. This is great, and there is a miniature sea at the end of the grassland. The middle of the grassland and the small sea is connected by a small hill, and there are 2 hot spring pools on the top of the mountain, which is incredible. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 3, Spatial Merge Washing. Chapter 3 Space Merging Washing. Yun Yi went back to the small courtyard and walked to the new 3-story building, and entered the first floor of the small building. There was a portrait on the opposite wall. The characters in the portrait were full of fairy spirit. Yun Yi couldn't help thinking about getting this opportunity. Somewhat grateful. Seeing the futon placed on the ground in front of him, he bowed down sincerely, and suddenly touched the white light and hit Yun Yi's forehead, and when Yun Yi digested the information, he smiled. That flash of white light was a gift from Shang Xian to him, and he practiced spiritual power. This is an invisible weapon for killing people. What a pitiful existence of women in this ancient times, so that I have another layer of protection in this strange ancient times, and I feel a lot of peace of mind. Stood up and looked at the large 8 Immortals table below the portrait. There was a letter written by someone who was destined to say, originally this space was refined by an immortal, and now it is the original appearance of the space. It was only during the battle of demon cultivation that Shang Xian forcibly divided the space into 2 separate small spaces and imposed a ban in order to leave a way out for his 2 daughters who were not qualified to cultivate immortals. But I don't know why the 2 subjects who carry the space will go to different worlds. It seems that there is God's will in the dark. Yuni immediately kneels down to the portrait again, thanking Shang Xian and God for giving her this opportunity. She will cherish. Yuni also knew that after restoring the complete space, the concentration of aura in the space will rise, and the water in the well in the small courtyard will be upgraded to a spiritual spring, and the owner of the space can wash scriptures and cut marrow after drinking it. People outside the space cannot drink it directly. If the meridians of the body can't bear it, they will explode and die. It is about 500 milliliters plus a drop of spiritual spring water, a small cup a day. After drinking it, people who have been sick for a long time can slowly get better. Adding 5 drops of the same amount can make the seriously injured person get out of danger and get better. Upstairs, the 2nd floor is the study and bedroom, and the 3rd floor is the refining pharmacy. The white soup pool in the new hill can be used for beauty, and the green color can remove fatigue and replenish vitality. This is simply a must for ancient life, and it is a proper rhythm for rice bugs. When I returned to the 1st floor, I found a box under the table of the 8 Immortals. I didn't see it just now, so I walked over and opened it. Inside was a small bowl-like, but thicker one. It was like a hollow in the middle of the jade, but it was one piece and very smooth. There was a bottom seat below, and there were several characters on it, which Yuni did not know. Put it on the 8 Immortals table, just pushed the box back under the table, ready to see what it was. Suddenly Yuni heard something going on outside. She was afraid that the girls in the night watch would come to check. She rushed out of the space and pretended to sleep. The little girl came in to help Yuni tuck the bed, and went out with a sigh. It seemed that there was something in the house. The thing is that the original owner Xiao Yuni doesn't know. Looking at the time, Yuni returned to the space again and poured a small half bucket of spiritual spring water. The well was not very big, and the bucket was specially refined, and a bucket of water was only 500 milliliters. Yuni was afraid that something would happen after drinking it all, so she only took a small sip and took it to the soup pool opposite the creek. I didn't dare to drink too much, because I was afraid that my body would burp if I couldn't bear it any longer. As time passed, just when Yuni thought there would be no abnormality, suddenly his body started to hurt. It really felt like life was better than death, and he could hear the rattling of bones. Consciousness also began to be out of control. Yuni thought that she must persevere, or else she will lose this opportunity in vain. Thinking of this, Yuni bit her lip so hard that she bit her blood, just to make herself awake and get through it. I haven't gone to see the ancient times of different time and space. After about half an hour, the pain on my body gradually disappeared. Yuni saw a lot of black things appear on the skin of the body that came out of the water. On the skin that was soaked in water, it was not there, and then there was still floating in the water that didn't come to be decomposed in a hurry. What else is unclear? This soup pool can automatically decompose and clean up impurities, which is really a lot of surprises. After Yuni understood all this, looking at the impurities discharged from his body outside the water, a carp jumped into the water, sinking his body including his hair into the water. I want to decompose all the impurities discharged from the body and clean it up. Yuni is a person with a little cleanliness in modern times. Looking at those black and gray things really makes me unbearable. After cleaning the body and hair, it is not too much to say that the skin is ice skin and snow skin. When I got out of the soup pool, I looked at the smoothness of the skin on my body now. I didn't dare to go to the white soup pool again, because the changes were too big to cause unnecessary trouble, so let's find out the situation in this mansion before making plans. Yuni also found that her strength was much stronger, which was a pleasant surprise. After the excitement in the space stopped, he packed himself up, put on his clothes, and went out of the space to rest with his longing for the future. Early the next morning, when the girls came in to serve, they saw that their young lady was in a lot of spirit, and she felt relieved. Thankfully, she finally managed to get over it. I was afraid that the young lady could not survive and went with the lady, since I accepted the inheritance in the space. Yuni feels that not only can her mental power be able to detect a radius of 100 meters, but she can even tell whether the girls who are serving in front of her are sincere or fake. This is really beneficial. At least you don't have to worry about someone playing tricks in front of you in the future. Good and evil can be distinguished at a glance. Will it develop into a mind-reading technique after practicing diligently? Ahahaha, my heart is overjoyed. Get up, wash and take care of yourself, leaving behind the girl Lingxue. This Lingxue grew up with the original owner since she was a child, and she is also one of the most loyal servants of the original owner besides the nurse. Speaking of which, the original owner's mother is really a good mother. The 4 first-class maids around her can be independent, and the 4 second-class maids have grown up with her since childhood. These 4 second-class maids are all orphans that Zhanlin brought the original owner to rescue several times. They are specially trained to accompany her in the future. Serving her daughter. The 4 maids have also been trained by Zhanlin, so now in the original owner's yard, the other maids and Sisao dare not say that they are all loyal, but these 8 are definitely reassuring. Lingxue, tell me about the people and things in the house these days, no matter how big or small. Yuni lazily leaned on the soft couch, holding a cup of tea in his hand, and said leisurely. Ling Xuejue's own young lady is different, but she still told everything that happened in the house during this period of time, and unified it into a few things. 1. The 3rd young master, Zhan Qingfeng, who came out of the Ho residence, took his family back to Beijing to report his work after the transfer. He was promoted to 1 level and now he is in the office of the 6th grade Guanglu Temple. 2nd, the eldest sister of the big house will marry after half a year according to the time set by the first marriage. Thirdly, there was news from the main courtyard of Ho Mansion that the eldest aunt and the second aunt Jiang intended to let Yuni go to the village on Qingliang Mountain to recuperate. The reason is that Zhuangzi is quiet over there, so as not to let Yuni touch the scene in the house is not conducive to the recovery of the body. The rest is just trivial matters. Zhuangzi is recuperating, and the ghost believes that it is for her good. There must be an unknown reason for this. It seems that it is necessary to explore how deep the water is in this mansion. To be able to cope. Otherwise, the current status of the original owner, the father and mother have gone west, and the whereabouts of the younger brother are still unknown. In this mansion, except for the grandmother, I am afraid that there is a bit of sincerity, and the others are only for jokes. Looked up and said to Lingxue, don't tell me about my current situation. If someone asks you, just say it's the same. Go out. I want to take a break. There's nothing important, so don't disturb me. After Lingxue went out, Yuni sat alone for a while, thinking that there must be a way to the car to the front of the mountain, and he was afraid that he would not be able to cope with this ancient house fight. I released my mental power and saw that there was nothing unusual outside. I put down the bed account and entered the space, and collected and planted the seeds that should be collected and planted in the space. After finishing, I sat in the pavilion next to the soup pool and began to meditate. After waiting for the time to finish, he washed up and left the room. He called Lingxue in and asked her to pick up the meal. After eating, he practiced calligraphy for a while, and then walked around the room a few times. That's why I sent people away from vigil early, and told the maids to keep the same tone when they inquired about the situation of the yard outside. They said that they had worked hard for the past few days when they were sick, so let's take a rest early today. Seeing that the maids had all gone out, Yuni thought about the information she heard from the maids today, combined with the little memory of the original owner, and thought about how to survive in this strange Ho residence in the future. Although I spent most of my time in various studies in the past, I have watched a few palace fighting dramas. Thinking about the various fights and frame-ups in the dramas, it is really creepy. But I thought that I had come from the 21st century, and I had the blessing of the golden finger. As long as I didn't kill myself, I would be afraid of something. Whoever made it difficult for my sister, I would ask them to double the repayment. Relying on his high IQ in modern times, he can't disgrace the elite education he has received over the years. Thinking of this, I can't help but think of modern people and things. I just left like that, and I don't know if anyone would really shed a tear for my passing, there should be none, there is no one in my grandfather's house. Dad sighed, hee, I guess they are just applauding, and they don't realize it. Why? Why did I think of them again? Knowing that I couldn't go back, my mood suddenly dropped, but I just failed my grandfather and my parents' expectations. My grandfather and my parents are sorry for you. You can rest assured that I will live well in this strange overhead world, take your share, live well, and take your wishes to see the beautiful scenery in this world, and I will not waste my life. Since God has given him a chance to be reborn and occupied the body of the original owner, let's face the reality, fulfill the mother's last wish for the original owner, and work hard to live on the original owner's behalf. But now even a fool knows that since his mother left, his father has been drunk all day long and cares about commonplace affairs. In addition to the people left by his mother, his grandmother will often send people over to take care of him. Since you have decided to live well in this empty world, and you still want to enjoy the beautiful scenery in this world, you must know yourself and the enemy well enough about the people and things in the house, and you will be able to survive 100 battles. It seems that to understand the current situation in the mansion, we can't just rely on the news sent by the maids, but also rely on ourselves to make people feel at ease. Looking at the time, it was almost the end of the Usher, thinking that there was no extra nightlife in ancient times, and people had to rest early. Yini got up and poured himself a cup of tea to drink. He let go of his consciousness and looked outside. He didn't find anything unusual, so he entered the space and began to prepare. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 4, I see. Chapter 4. So it was. Wait until nightfall. Yini put on a black modern tight-fitting bodysuit and went out, and gave some drugs to the two maids who were on duty tonight in the side room of the yard. She was afraid that they would go over to see her at night, and they would be exposed. I went to Aunt Jiang first. Aunt Jiang was talking to her confidante, Mrs. Ma, in the house. Yuni went up on the roof and lifted the tiles. She could clearly hear the voices in the house, all of which were from the courtyard. Just as Yuni had no interest in leaving after hearing it for a long time, she heard Aunt Jiang say, Nanny, do you think the main courtyard will allow the third lady to go to Zhuangzi to recuperate? It should be. Mrs. Shitzi didn't say that she would persuade the old lady, you just need to pack up the things and send them away. But we have to find a way to get the third lady to hand over the key to the second lady's storeroom, but it can't fall into the hands of the prince's wife. The 7th and 8th misses will have a marriage proposal in a few years, so we must prepare them early. Anyway, the second master is also very alienated from the third lady, and the third lady's temperament is not very strong, but we have to find a way to transfer the maids in her yard. I heard Madame Ma say. After hearing this, Aunt Jiang said, it's not very easy to handle, it's all arranged by the second lady, and she can't move without any special reason. Besides, if the second master finds out that we are teaming up with the big room to figure out the third lady, I can still have good fruit to eat. Auntie, why don't you talk to Mrs. Shitzi directly? Anyway, they are nothing but the marriage they want, so it's not good for us to contribute. Just said that our condition is to take over the key to the second lady's storehouse, and everyone who understands will agree, said Madame Ma. When Madame Ma finished speaking, she heard Aunt Jiang say, you think the eldest lady just wants that marriage, but she doesn't think that the second master is now devastated by the blow and doesn't care about the house, and the third lady is soft-tempered. Besides, it's still two things to say whether the third lady can come back this time. The second lady's dowry at that time was no worse than that of the prince's wife, and the pressure box silver she gave in private was definitely not a small amount. Madame Ma went on to say, it's just a pity that the dowry shops and farms of the second lady have been sold by the second lady to find a third young master. I heard that the annual income is quite large. It has been 3 years, and I don't know the 3 can you find it, young master. Concubine Jiang said, it's hard to say, the Duke of Wu's mansion is still looking for it, and our second master is going crazy. But I heard that the old lady meant that after the second lady passed the first anniversary of her death, she would tell the second master to kiss again. You can't pin the second house's hope on a third young master who still doesn't know if he can get it back. Thought of something and then said, actually, the second lady is still a good mistress, and I don't know if another one is a good one, and whether it can accommodate us. I haven't been pregnant since I gave birth to Miss Eighth. It would be great if I could also give birth to a son. After speaking, his eyes became lonely, and he inadvertently put his hand on his lower abdomen. Hearing this, Yuni, there is still something that I don't understand. She is regarded as a soft persimmon, but she is really the most poisonous woman's heart. No one in this mansion really can't take her lightly. After leaving Aunt Jiang, Yuni went to the house of the Shitsi's wife, but she didn't know what to do in the middle of the way, and went to the main courtyard of the mansion, Ronghui Hall, where the old marquis and the old lady lived. The light in the room was still on. Carefully pry open the tiles to see downwards. After listening to talk about a lot of things during the day, they talked about the dowry for the dowry of the eldest daughter, and finally the second room and the third grandson. The only son-in-law thinks that he should also pay attention to it. Also said that after 1 year of filial piety, he would give his second son another marriage, and the second room could not be without a mistress all the time. Yuni didn't complain about the two of them when she heard this. As an ancient person, this is also a reasonable thing. Heard the old lady say again, the old people said that they want Yunyi to go to the village in Qingliang Mountain to recuperate. It has been 3 months and it has not been better. I am afraid that I have been watching things in the mansion and thinking about people. What do you think? Everyone here is right, but you don't have to run that far. You're already in bad shape. If there's more along the way, how can Qingqing endure it? After a while, he said, but it's okay, give Qingqing some time, he really can't face it now, it's suitable for warming up there, you can look at the arrangement, but you have to wait for Yuni to have a healthy body. Get up and move again. Said in a low voice, maybe it's good for her to leave the house, and let Qingqing take it easy, alas, rest. Yuni left Ronghui Hall and did not go directly to the main courtyard where the big house is located, but went to the artificial lake in the garden to find a big tree and sit on it. Thinking about what the old man and the old lady said, it is already like this anyway. Rather than staying here, it is better to go out and stay far away. As for the marriage, we also need to see if Lu Qingbin, the second son of Jingning Ho's mansion, is a good one, and whether it is worth marrying. This man really can't think about it, saying that Chow Chow and Chow Chow will arrive. I only heard at least 2 people walking on the small stone road behind the rockery not far from here. It was a little far away and the sky was dark and I couldn't see who it was, but I could hear the words of the people who came. At this time, only a female voice came out, second young master, I will not go there. Miss is waiting for you at the rockery in front of you. I am watching from here, you can go quickly. Listening to this voice, I recalled the memory of the original owner, as if I had heard it there. Before I could remember who it was, I heard a male voice, Yunyu, I'm here. As soon as I heard this voice, there was a big drama, and so did Yuni. The bad taste came up. I found a recording pen in the space, lightly went down the tree and went around the edge of the rockery, opened the recording pen and placed it in the place closest to them, enough to hear what the two were saying, and then carefully returned to the tree. Watch the drama. Yunyu, I'm here, you really miss me. This voice has been heard from memory, but it is not familiar. Why don't you talk, are you angry with me? I really don't have time at this time, and besides the chaos in your house some time ago, I really dare not come here. If anyone finds out, it's a small thing for both of us to be punished, and the 2 governments will have trouble at that time. Who is this man? I heard that he has had an affair with Yunyu for a long time. Brother Bin, I'm not angry with you, but I'm just not happy. My mother and grandmother have already told my grandmother to let Sanmei go to Zhuangzi on Qingliang Mountain to recuperate. I'll leave when Sanmei feels better these few days. But this is not a solution, the third sister is going to come back after all, what should we do? After that, Yunyu cried softly. What else is there to say? There is no need to go to the big room anymore. It turned out to be the case. It is really a good bridge and a good method. Everyone in this ancient post house can get the Oscar statuette, and he will take it. Heard Lu Qingbin say, it's okay, I will find a way, the marriage was decided by my mother, I only have in my heart, anyway, you 2 are the same age. There is still a long time to wait until you get married. I will find a way to retire the marriage before you get married. I will marry you beautifully. You can rest assured that is the real wife I married back home. Will be wronged. Damn, you are good, scumbag, it turns out that I thought I was rude to you, and tried to get me back. Wait a minute, my aunt didn't grow up on a vegetarian diet, she's sure to surprise you again and again. Brother Bin, I'm not wronged, as long as Brother Bin has me in his heart, how can I be wronged, but if Yuni knows, I'm worried that she won't be able to bear it, and Yuni won't forgive me. I'm worried that Yuni's character will be difficult to think about. What should I do, Brother Bin? I'm so uncomfortable. Jean Yunyu said in a crying tone. You are as kind, and I know I'm sorry for Yuni, but who made me like you, who made us hadn't known each other earlier, if it wasn't for my mother who asked me to come over for a boxing gift and met you a few years ago? How do you know that my Yuer is so kind and gentle? It makes me want to come and have a private meeting with you every night. My good Yuer, let me hug. Lu Qingbin's cheap voice came. I really can't listen to it anymore, and I can't leave a recording pen. I thought about it. Well, since you both love each other so much, it doesn't matter if you pay a little price. Yuni laughed thiefly. He quickly descended the tree and went to Zhang Yunyu's Xixiang pavilion. The courtyard door was slightly open, and it seemed that Yunyu had left the door for himself, which was just convenient for doing things. Entered Yunyu's room, and glanced around with direct mental power. First, he put the silver notes and cash in the dark compartment under the bed into the space, and then took away all the jewelry on the dresser. The large decorations in the room have not been moved, and the room next door should be the gifts that Zhang Yunyu has received over the years. When you open it, you can see that there are fabrics, decorations, and some medicinal materials. There are also a lot of embroidered apron, each with a cloud-shaped pendant embroidered on it. Ha 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 ha, this is good. I collected a few pieces into the space. I saw that there was nothing else, and before leaving the house, I collected 2 sets of Yunyu's clothes in the closet, and then I walked into the garden in a good mood. When Yuni arrived, he saw 2 inseparable farewells from a distance, let go of his consciousness, and looked at the appearance of Lu Qingbin, the second son of the second son from Jingning Ho's mansion. Human and dog-like. I can't complain that Yunyu's solo exhibition is so fascinated by it that I don't even want the reputation of being a lady. Well. Male is also misleading. And the others walked away. Yuni put away the recorder, and threw it back into the space, intending to go back to rest. The next day, Yuni left the original owner's mother's wet nurse alone to talk, and asked her mother's private storehouse, dowry items and current accounts, and asked her to sort out these things as soon as possible. If you don't have enough manpower, you can ask the maid in your yard to help, but you must count these things within 2 days, and you don't need to shut your eyes and ears. Don't you just want these things? I will definitely help you, let you taste what it means to steal chickens and not lose rice, disgusting you will be happy if you are not better than this girl, she has to think about what to do to be safe. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 5, Prepare. Chapter 5 Preparation. 2 days passed quickly. Mama came over and handed over the ledger. After Yuni looked at it carefully, the original owner's family was really willing to do so. Judging from the things registered in the ledger, it really hurts her daughter. Are all very good things, and this is not counting the shops and farms that my mother sold half a year ago. Listening to the grandmother said that at that time, it was really red makeup and the scenery was infinite. Yuni read the ledger and asked softly, Mother, what about our people in the previous shop in Zhuangzi? How did those mothers in charge arrange it? Little miss, those who came out from the Wugua Gong's mansion to manage, Zhuangtou and their families have all returned to Wugua Gong's mansion, and the families who rescued after the young lady's marriage have all stayed. Originally, what the lady meant was to let them choose either to go back to the Duke Wu's mansion as well as to follow the stewards of the mansion, or to give them freedom to try to make a living on their own, but they were unwilling. These young ladies have been specially trained to be able to stand on their own. Later, it was seen that they were really unwilling to leave. The young lady asked them if they would like to follow the young lady and be loyal to the young lady in the future, and they all agreed. Mammy paused for a while and then continued, that's why the young lady asked the old slave to go to the suburbs of Beijing to secretly buy a small village with the little lady's account, but it's a pity that the time is too short, the better villages in the suburbs of Beijing are all in Beijing. No one in the other courtyard of the big family will take action. The old slave could only choose a village a little farther from the suburbs of Beijing. The ground is not small, but 1/3 of it is mountains and forests. The scenery is very good, and it is a good place to escape the heat in summer. Miss asked the old slave to put those families in the village. The young lady told the old slave to tell the old slave, except for the young lady, and did not even say anything about the government. Well, looking at the little lady's expression, think about her poor lady again. Miss grew up in a pampered environment, and everything is protected by the old lady of Wu Guogong's mansion. When have you ever bothered with this kind of heart? This is the last trump card left by the young lady for the young lady. The second master will marry again in the future. The young lady is afraid that the young lady will have a hard life in the future. At that time, the young lady will not even have a useful person by her side. It is really pitiful for the mother's heart in the world. Yuni thought about it and asked again, Mother, how many people are there in Zhuangzi now? Are they all our own? Now there are 4 of their households in Zhuangzi, and the rest are tenants from the original Zhuangzi, and they all live in the village not far from Zhuangzi. Mammy replied, took out another small box and handed it over. Yini took the box, opened it, and saw a letter inside, as well as Zhuangzi's land deed and the 4 families' deeds of sale, after seeing that Zhuangzi was indeed not small. Guangshan Forest has more than 300 mu, which is considered a small hilltop, and most of the 580 mu of land is medium and high grade, which can be regarded as fertile land, of which 500 mu are all leased out. The remaining 80 acres were cultivated by the 4 families. Those tenancy agreements were all there, struggling to open the letter. Most of the letters were reluctance and exhortations for their daughters. If there was something that could not be resolved, they had to go back to Wugua Gongfu to report the letter. They also said that no one knew about Zhuangzi except the mammy, so let her know. Well, there is a way out. In the end, I still told her to let her have the ability and don't forget to find her brother. If the younger brother is found one day, remember to send her a letter to Sheng's Huxiang. Yuni's eyes were red after reading the letter. When she took over from the original owner, her mother had already gone. Besides, she had received the original owner's memory, but she didn't experience it personally. It must be different emotionally. But when I saw this letter, I didn't know whether the original owner had not dissipated or I was moved by a loving mother's heart. Anyway, my heart was sour and my mood was down. After a quarter of an hour, Yuni sorted out her emotions and asked, Mother, how did your mother put you in place? Do you want to go back to the Duke's mansion? Miss, let the old slave keep the young lady, keep the dowry left by the young lady, and take good care of the young lady. The old slave will also guard the young master when he comes back to serve the young master and watch the young lady get married. The old slave wants to protect the only 2 bones and blood she has left in this world for the young lady. Mammy said sadly but firmly. Mommy, I have something to tell you to do. Tomorrow, you will bring the 5 of you Ling Xue, Ling Yu, Ling Shuang, and Ling Lu to the government to remove the slave status, and I will let them pack their things directly with you. Meet at the gate of the city and do as I say. Thought of something and then said, the 4 of them are not too young to go to Zhuangzi to see if the 4 families have someone they like. If there is, let them have a family, and they will be able to do things better in Zhuangzi in the future. Yuni suddenly smiled when she saw the complicated and tangled eyes of Mammy. I told my mother everything I knew, including my general thoughts, and then my mother put down her mind, but then said, Little miss, then let's all go. What should I do with the dowry of the young lady? I guess there will be nothing left when you come back. In that case, the old slave will go underground and explain to the young lady. Mother, you will deliver the 4 of them to Zhuangzi tomorrow, and you will come back the day after they are settled. Before I leave, I will hand over the keys of my mother's warehouse to the person who wants it. But I need you to come back and check with them in person. I will let them write down the paperwork. They will definitely not think about it too much. I will only talk about whether I can come back when I am a child. You can rest assured that I won't make them feel comfortable, I will make them more than the loss. If the people in the house ask about Ling Xue and the others, they will say that they are old. I asked my mother to order them marriages. Mrs. will let them go in 100 days. Tomorrow, if you have completed your household registration, it is best to change your clothes and go out of the city, so that no one will find out. Yuni confessed. By the way, Mammy, you draw me a map of Zhuangzi's location. I'll go over tomorrow night to see the place and see the people on Zhuangzi. It's just a matter of a few days to leave the capital. After the arrangement is made, we may have a short time. I can't come back, so it's better to take precautions against some things. This is a good explanation. Mammy went out to do some errands. Yuni called the four of Lingshuai in, and told them the ins and outs of the matter. Looking at the four people in front of him, he said, "This is to protect you. It doesn't matter if you don't have someone you like when you get to Zhuangzi, you can find them slowly. If you have other ideas, you can put them up before turning off the lights. For my sake, I will fulfill you." After speaking, let them disperse. Yini let them go out and released a message saying that she could sit up for a while, and she would be able to get out of bed in a few days. Yini thought about it, since she decided to leave, she would no longer sloppy. Shiko Kingfenjuan. Mrs. Feng Shitzi was sitting on a chair in the front hall with the tea that the maid had just brewed. She was thinking about the house, and suddenly thought of something. She reached out and motioned for the maid beside her, and said, "Go get the nurse. Call." The little maid replied respectfully, "Yes, madam, this servant will go." After speaking, she quickly moved out of the main hall. After a while, the nanny followed the little maid to the front of the hall, and after entering, she said respectfully, "I have seen Mrs. Shitzi, and the lady has something to call me. She is old now, and it is time to return to her hometown years old. But there are no relatives at home, so Mrs. Shitzi let her stay in the whole mansion with peace of mind and accompany Mrs. in the next 100 years, everything will be arranged for her. So I stayed all the time, and I no longer do anything on weekdays, at most I just talk to my wife." After taking a sip of tea, Feng Shi said slowly, "In the morning, a message from Zudiju said that the third lady has met, and the nanny will visit on my behalf. How about it?" After speaking, she smiled and looked at Nanny Zhangshi. Mrs. Zhang replied respectfully, "Okay, this slave girl will go here. She will definitely take your care from Mrs. Shitzi, and will also visit the third young lady well. That's what she means in her eyes." Gone. Mrs. Feng said, "You pick a few good things from the womb that were given to you the other day, and by the way, tell her about Qingliang Mountain. Don't let the other courtyards in the house think that we are bullying the third lady, and say that this is what the old lady meant." After speaking, the calculating light in his eyes could not be hidden, and he waved his hand to let Feng Shi go down. Feng was thinking about something when he saw his youngest daughter Yinyu running and crying. Before she could get close, she said, "Mother, you have to decide for me." Tears dripped down as if she didn't want money. Feng felt a little bit distressed and a little unhappy about her daughter, but this little daughter was raised in a pampered way, and she really answered the sentence that her daughter was made of water. "I've been so angry since I was a child, and I didn't like it. The tears came as soon as I said it, and I don't know what happened." In fact, she was also a little annoyed that this little daughter would cry at every turn, but what else could be annoying? Lightly touched his brows and said, "What's the matter, what makes you so sad, come and tell her mother." Gently pulled her daughter to sit on the chair next to her. Seeing that her daughter was crying without saying anything, she looked up at Yunyu's maid and said, "Tell me what's wrong with Second Mississippi." No one can ignore the badness in his eyes. The little girl hurriedly knelt down and said nervously, "Mrs. Hui Shitzi, Miss was invited out of the mansion to attend the flower viewing banquet hosted by the Princess Zijin of the Princess Mansion yesterday morning. Because many of the little sisters of the second lady were having fun with handkerchiefs, I forgot that it was late, and it was already late when I returned to the house. The second lady walked around a lot yesterday, so I soaked my feet after returning to the room. Fell asleep. But when I woke up this morning and dressed up, I found that the jewelry on the dressing table, except for the one on the head of the second lady yesterday, was gone, and I ordered someone to search the whole house. Moreover, the monthly money and money that the second lady had saved before, she also lost all the money she had saved, and even the gifts she received on her birthday and New Year's festival these years. Please Mrs. Shitzi will call the shots for our second young lady. What, who is so bold and dares to steal in the Ho's mansion, Wen Lan, take someone to find the housekeeper and let him investigate this matter thoroughly, I want to see who it is. Don't be afraid to steal from the Ho's mansion." After speaking, I looked at my second daughter, who was crying endlessly, and was extremely helpless. It's just that such a big thing happened, and it's not easy to reprimand, so I can only coax patiently. "Don't worry, Mother has asked the housekeeper to check, I believe there will be a letter soon. Your mother will decide for you." If you stop crying, you will become ugly. I said that I patted my daughter's back. How can I say that I was born in October of my pregnancy? How could it not hurt? End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter. Chapter 6, Xixiang Pavilion Chaos Training and Promotion. Chapter 6, Xixiang Pavilion Chaos Cultivation and Promotion. The maid Wenlan in the yard of the eldest son took the order to leave. The madam of the eldest son patiently coaxed the youngest daughter, and her heart was really uneasy. If it was as the maid of Xixiang Pavilion said, who would be so daring to do so? Ho's mansion has always been heavily guarded. How did the wicked man get in? Thinking that this time he just lost something. Next time, when he sees his little daughter who is crying and is sad, he can't help but feel scared. Talk to your husband. I have to discuss it with my husband when I go back. For the sake of safety, we need to add some more night-watching nurses to the house. This makes people feel more at ease. There are many female relatives in the backyard of the dignified mansion, and whoever has an accident, she is the eldest son of the family. The lady can't get rid of it. It will also affect the reputation of the whole mansion. I am upset and can't figure it out. When I look at the little daughter who is still crying, I am even more impatient. I simply called the maid next to Yinyu and said, "Take the second lady back to the silk compartment. Go, clean up for her. Look at what this looks like. How can there be a little girl in the boudoir?" Bamboo flute Ju Nei Yini looked lazy, reclining and sitting on the soft tread, holding a cup of tea brewed with Lingquan water in his hand and sipping his tea slowly. Thinking that this time Mama and Lingxue and the others should have completed the formalities for eliminating slave status, I looked around the house, thinking that I won't be staying here for long. At this moment, the maid Yuezhu walked in quickly and said, "Miss, there was a lot of trouble in the Xixiang Pavilion this morning. This servant went to ask about it, and I heard that it was in the second lady's room overnight. The things were stolen by the gangsters." It was only when the second lady got up and washed herself and was about to put on makeup, she found out that the maids in the pavilion quickly turned over the silk chamber pavilion and found nothing. The second lady and the steward of the courtyard panicked. The second lady had the nurse and the steward in the courtyard beat up, and then went to King Fenju and Shizi's wife to file a complaint, and asked Shizi's wife to call the shots for her. Mrs. Shizi has sent Wenlan to find the housekeeper to investigate the matter, and it is estimated that she will ask us here in a while. Miss, see how we can deal with this. Yini raised her eyes to look at the little maid who was rescued by the original owner and her mother. She was very quiet, and now it seems that she should be stable and feel good. Seeing that my young lady has not spoken, she continued, Mother Lin and Sister Lingxue left the Ho residence this morning. Will they doubt that they will come to us? I'm afraid we will be there at that time. Yini thought that he was still attentive, and asked, when did they leave the house? Yuezhu replied, I sent them to the door that I went out to at the end of the period, and the Nanjiao gate has been inspected and registered. Yuni said with a chuckle, people who go out from the house are checked and registered by the concierge, and there are records. It has nothing to do with us, just look at it with peace of mind. Unless, then it depends on whether they have the ability. The housekeeper will bring people over in a while, don't block it, just let them in, just say that my condition has improved a little in the past few days, I can get up, and I have to take good care of it. As for other things, just tell the truth, take care of the people in the yard, don't get involved in the affairs of the Xixiang Pavilion, let them all give me some peace of mind, Ling Xue and the others, Lin Mammy was with the four of you yesterday. I have spoken. In the future, the four of you will take over Ling Xue and the others to take care of me personally. Just do what you did when the four of them were with you, and watch the people in the yard. I'm tired, so go out and watch bar. Yuezhu replied, yes, miss, the slaves are leaving. After coming out, he closed the door and told the other three at the door what the lady had told her, leaving Yuelan to guard the door, and the others went to work. It's just that Yuezhu always felt that the young lady had changed. Although she never served the young lady personally, she was always waiting not far away. The young lady became more assertive after she recovered from her illness. And I feel that the aura of the young lady has changed. When I was talking just now, my eyes were very sharp for a moment. Hey, I let out a long breath. I hope that the young lady can really change this time and will no longer be bullied by other courtyards. Yini opened the map that Lin Ma left for her after the maid left, studied the approximate route, and then entered the space to continue practicing the spiritual power technique. If you want to live a wonderful life in this world, you must have enough means of self-protection. Yini always remembers what her grandfather said, in the face of absolute strength, any strategy is nonsense, so Yini is now in body after washing the marrow has been restored. The skills of the previous life should also be practiced a lot, and when they recover to the strongest as soon as possible, they should also step up the practice of this spiritual power technique to make themselves strong enough. Yini already knows the power of this exercise, and when he cultivates to the third floor, he can reach the invisible better than the visible within 100 meters. The speed is unparalleled, and he can still use his mental power to quietly decide the life and death of others. He is just getting started, and he can only use his mental power as a radar. The training time is short, and the current spiritual consciousness can only monitor the things within 100 meters around, and it can't be farther away. For the sake of future safety, Yini is now using it for cultivation as long as time permits. Until the beginning of noon, Yini, with the blessing of the spiritual spring, and the original master, who had a physique that could be regarded as a cultivator, even succeeded in breaking through the entry level, officially entering the early stage of the first level of spiritual power. Not only can you check the situation within 100 meters around you at any time through your spiritual sense, but you can also hear the sound clearly, which is a must-have artifact for ancient Fudo. When I soaked myself in the green hot spring pool, my body felt comfortable, and it felt like every pore was breathing, and the whole person was very comfortable. After leaving the soup pool and tidying herself up, Yuni found out that she could teleport in space without knowing if she had practiced the exercises. This is really a surprise, buy one get one free, there is no one. Squeezed out fresh milk, boiled it and drank a cup, ready to eat fruit to taste the milk in my mouth. Just halfway through, I felt a group of people approaching from 100 meters away. Yuni ate the rest in 2 or 3 mouthfuls, rinsed her mouth, tidied up and left the space, leaned on the soft tread again, picked up the book next to her, read it, and waited for the door. After a while, a group of people entered the courtyard of Zutiju, and without waiting for Yuelan and others to report, they could not stop them and entered the main room, led by Lida, the housekeeper of the Ho residence. The first-class maid Wenlan beside Mrs. Shitsi and King Fenjuan, and Mrs. Zhang, the nurse of Mrs. Shitsi. After a few people came in, Yuelan, the maid next to Yuni who didn't stop anyone, knelt directly on the ground. Said nervously, "Miss, the slaves are incompetent, I didn't have to report in a hurry." He couldn't go on. Yunishio's practice of cultivating spiritual power is really a good thing. He effortlessly made his face pale, and his body also made Yuni pretend to be sick, but he still needs to be treated. Come. The few people who came in looked at Yuni at the same time, and Lida, the housekeeper of the Ho residence, thought to himself, the third lady in the second room is really fortunate. Everyone said that she couldn't survive. I didn't expect that no one would love her. It came alive again. Inexplicably, he got better again. Although he looks very sick now, he can get out of bed after all. There is no mother to take care of him in this Ho's mansion, which eats people and doesn't spit bones. I don't know how far I can go. Home in Beijing is still enough. At least the manor does not dare to take action on the surface, and it is hard to say secretly. I hope this second family daughter can think about it and protect herself. The few were still in a daze. Yuni said, "I don't know what you are doing here, I have been lingering on the bed since my mother left, and it was only in the past few days that I was able to get out of bed. But I don't know what the rules are in this mansion now, I don't know if my grandmother and her old man know about it, or I feel that the second room has no mistress now, and my father doesn't care, my only daughter is not the master. Or say this is the meaning of the eldest aunt and the wife of the prince. Without my mother, I don't need to regard me as the master of this house, and let the people in this house fail. This is really chilling. I don't know if my grandfather's family knew that I lived like this in this Ho's mansion and would go to the imperial court to file a lawsuit to get an explanation for this lost orphan girl." A few people were also startled, so they hurriedly knelt down and said, "The slave, old slave, has seen the third lady." Then Yuni didn't say anything, and listened to the head of the Ho mansion. "I also asked the third lady to forgive the servants for their rudeness just now. It's the servant who hasn't seen the third lady for a long time. I was trying to see if the third lady was okay, and I forgot the etiquette. The servants really deserve to die. The other people also echoed. I also asked the third lady to forgive the servant, old servant, for being rude. Yini just wants them, to understand that although she doesn't have a mother and is not close to her father now, she will always be the master of this mansion. What she had to guard against and deal with was the masters behind them, not them. They were not qualified to bother her, so she said softly, let's all get up and answer. Then he put down the book in his hand. He raised his hand and picked up the teacup on the table, and said, tell me, you are so rude today, you don't even care to let the maid come in to report, so what is the matter, so you are in such a hurry, they don't care about honor and humility. Several people looked at each other, and they always felt that this third young lady was a little different. She was not as weak as she used to be, and her speech was coherent and could not be refuted. Butler Lida took a step forward and said, Miss San, the situation is like this. The second lady's courtyard was stolen last night. Mrs. Sheetsy asked the servant to investigate the matter, so the servant came to understand the situation. Yuni said with a bit of displeasure, oh, what does the housekeeper want to know? Does the housekeeper mean that we Zutaju have the ability to steal from the second sister's Xixiang pavilion? What you said made me laugh. My yard and the yard of the second sister are separated by a lake and 2 yards. There are not even men in this yard. It is possible that the guards and soldiers in the house are decorations. Seeing that you brought so many people here today, you are trying to search the bamboo flute residence. I suspect that we did it. If you don't make it clear to me about Butlerly today, then we won't be finished. Although I don't have serious elders to protect me now, my grandmother won't watch me get humiliated. The Duke of Wu will not care, no matter what. I am also the young lady from the second room of the Ho residence, and it is not something you can manipulate at will. Butler Lida knew that what Miss Gang San said was reasonable, and he also knew that it was impossible to have something to do with Miss San. Since Miss San is so difficult to mess with now, it's better to take a step back. So he said, Miss San misunderstood, and the servant just came over to ask about the situation and to see if there were any suspicious people in the courtyard. It really bothered Miss San to recuperate, so the servant took her away, and I hope Miss San will forgive me. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 7, Get Ice Crystals. Chapter 7 Get Ice Crystals. After finishing speaking, he took the young servants behind him and left. There were still Mrs. Zhang, the nanny of the first wife of the big house, and Wen Lan, the maid next to Mrs. Sheetsy. Yuni said, why, do you two have anything else to say? I'm a little tired. If you have something to say, just say it directly. You all know that I can't be tired in this body. Mother Zhang stepped forward and replied, old slave is damned, since the third young lady has not recovered, the old slave will make a long story short. Mrs. Sheetsy is concerned about the third young lady's body, and asked the old slave to come and visit the third young lady. A few days ago, a lot of gadgets were rewarded in the womb. Mrs. Sheetsy chose a few new ones and asked the old slave to bring them to the third lady to play with, so as to relieve the boredom of the third lady. After that, he waved his hand to signal the little girl outside the door to come in. Yini looked up and saw that the little maidservant who came over was holding 2 pieces of headdresses on the tray, but they were exquisite, and there was a piece that looked like a crystal beside it. Out of curiosity, she reached out and played with it. This thing looks like a diamond in hardness but not as bright, and it is not as warm as jade, but it is a bit cold to start, but with Yini's eyesight, it is definitely not an ordinary stone, and there is no material. Mammy Zhang explained, these items were specially chosen by Mrs. Sheetsy for the third young lady. The hairpin and the step sway were given by the nobles in the palace. As for this thing, it's a good thing, I heard that it was Dongjungguo. The tribute, a total of 6. What is the name of the ice crystal? We in the manor will reward you with such a piece. This is what the third lady can give. I don't know how other ladies in the mansion envy you. It's not that Mrs. Sheetsy has you. Thinking about Miss San recently. Well, I just want to make Miss San feel relieved and get well soon, so that Lord Ho and Madam can rest assured. Yini clearly saw Zhang Mama's guilty expression. I'm afraid this thing is not a good thing, other sisters don't like it, so it was sent to her. Really made Yuni guess right. The things that were rewarded in the palace were all selected first by the old lady of the whole mansion, the lady of the prince, the young masters and young ladies from each room, and then it was the turn of the concubine to pick. But right now, there is no mistress in the second room, and no one can take care of the third lady. Although the old lady still has some affection, she is old and lacking in mental strength, and it is impossible to take care of it all the time. No, the things in the palace were rewarded a few days ago. The young masters and young ladies from each room have been selected, and even the favored aunts, concubines, and concubine daughters have been selected, and the direct descendants are left alone. The third lady of the second room. If it wasn't for the lady of the Kingfenjuan Shitsi who asked Mammy Zhang to come over to spread the word, it is estimated that this thing would not be her turn. Besides, the ice crystal of unknown material, if no one pointed out its specialness, those young masters who are used to seeing good things on weekdays, ladies don't care. Besides, as soon as Mrs. Shitsi entered the whole mansion, she heard the Lord Shitsi say that this thing is only available in Dongjun country. I heard that it was nourished in the Bailey Shuling mountain after thousands of years. The thing is good, but it is not common people can use it. The envoys of Dongjungwo have said that the thing belongs to the Yin and is not suitable to be made into an object to wear, and the long-term exposure of ordinary people will affect fertility. But I heard that only people with special physique can control it. According to legend, apart from those with special physiques, only the ice crystals blessed by people with spiritual energy on Shuling Mountain in Dongjun Kingdom, when mortals wear them, will not only be warm in winter and cool in summer, but also nourish the body. It is a pity that Shuling Mountain has been on the mountain for more than 100 years, and I have never seen an immortal with aura added to it. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 8, Space Turmoil. Chapter 8 Space Turmoil. It can be imagined that this thing is indeed a treasure. Dongjungwo can only find a small number of ice crystals every year, but there is no way to make it a spiritual crystal that is hard to find in the eyes of the world. Mother Zhang saw that Miss San didn't move, and there was no superfluous expression on her face, and quickly said, Master Ho and the old lady are also worried about Miss San's body. It's been almost 3 months, and they are also anxious to get angry. Yesterday, a maid from our yard went to Ronghue Hall to report that the third lady had improved and was able to get out of bed. The old lady was so happy, and ordered the madam to take good care of the third lady. This morning, Aunt Jiang from Erfang Juyuan told the old lady when she was greeting her in the morning. She said that the people in the house were too talkative, and it was not conducive to the third lady's recuperation. She suggested that the third lady should go to Qingliangshan Biayuan to recuperate, where the climate is suitable. Also let the third lady relax by the way. The ladies in the mansion, the old lady is the most distressed for the third lady. The prince's wife considered the third lady's real situation, so she agreed, but the prince's wife said that she was afraid that the third lady's body just couldn't stand the long-distance fatigue. Let the third lady take care of her body and leave again. The third lady is really lucky. The old lady and the prince's wife are always thinking of the third lady, which is not comparable to other ladies in the house. Yuni quietly looked at Zhang Ma's self-care, and when she finished speaking, Yuni said, I made my grandmother worry about me, and I will go over to say hello to my grandmother when I am a little more relaxed. I also thanked my aunt on my behalf, for letting her bother. Yuni will definitely remember her well. He raised his hand to signal to the maid beside him to put away the things. Mammy Zhang saw that the matter was done, and said, the third young lady will rest for a while, and this old servant will retire. After that, she took the big maid Wenlan and her group and left the Judy residence. Seeing that everyone had left, Yuni ordered the maid to fetch the meal. After a while, Yueme and Yueju, who were beside her, set up the meal, and came over and asked the lady to move to the front hall to eat. Looking at the dishes that have been prepared, this is probably because the large room in charge of the central feeder is in order to avoid people's eyes and ears. He is afraid that he will fall into the public's tongue. He has never treated the original owner harshly. The quantity and portion have never been reduced. It made Yuni, who was new to this ancient time, a little unaccustomed to such waste. Since she came here, she has always asked people to prepare a plate in front of the bowl, and let the servant girl put the favorite dishes on the plate first, and wait for her to use up. Back. I asked them to take the rest and share it. Yuni had seen the meals of these maids once, and they were also graded, which meant that they would be full. It would be impossible to eat well. After finishing everything, Yuni let them all go down. She has to go out to run errands at night, so she needs to recharge her batteries first. But lying on the bed, I don't know if I have practiced in the space in the morning, I didn't feel sleepy at all, and I became more and more energetic. I simply got up and walked to the table to sit down, ready to drink a cup of tea and then enter the space to continue practicing. Inadvertently caught a glimpse of the ice crystal of unknown material placed on the dresser. Yuni walked over and took her in his hand to play with, looking over and over for a long time without seeing a flower. Resolutely gave up, told the maids outside not to disturb her, closed the door and put down the curtain on the bed, and entered the space with the stone, but the air in the space became restless after entering. I clearly felt that the space was shaking, and the foggy color in the areas that could not be seen outside the space was thicker, and the air seemed to be more humid than before. Yuni didn't know what happened to the space. I wanted to go out first and wait for the space to recover before coming in, but I found that I couldn't get out now, and the ice crystal in my hand had changed. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 9, Millennium Spirit Crystal. Chapter 9 Millennium Spirit Crystal. Now Yuni has reacted. It is the reason why the piece in his hand is called ice crystal, which makes the space have such a reaction. Yuni wanted to throw the ice crystals first, but when he looked down, he saw that the ice crystals in his hands had undergone a worldly change, brighter than diamonds. It is almost as clear as crystal, and it feels no longer cold like top-grade jade. It is soft and smooth in the hand, and it seems that something penetrates into the body a little bit. Yuni was stunned, what was the situation, and felt that after the body absorbed it, there was no other abnormality except for comfort, so he felt relieved, and at the same time the space returned to calm. There is no major change in the current space, but the concentration of spiritual energy has been significantly increased, making people feel more comfortable. Holding the crystal clear ice crystal in his hand and looking at it for a long time, the penetration in his hand is gone. Since I can't see it through, I don't care. I entered the small building and wanted to put away my things. I looked up and saw that it was not too late that day. The objects that were put away, which were called jade bowls, were still placed on the table of the 8 immortals. Yuni thought about it anyway. Is something unknown. Let's put them together, but just after putting the ice crystals into the bowl, the jade bowl was white with light, and the words sitting on the bottom lit up. The words, Jumbo Jian, appeared in my mind, and then I quickly thought of it. Information on ice crystals. Shui Lingjing can only be nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth for thousands of years. It is a rare thing in the world and belongs to Yin. Ordinary mortals have frequent contact with them and affect their fertility. They must have the blessing of spiritual energy to make the properties of ice crystals in harmony. Can truly become a rare treasure in the world, nourishing the body. Yin Yao, Mia Koi. Ha 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 ha. Only then did I know that this unremarkable object is called Jumbo Jian. As the name suggests, it means to identify treasures. It's interesting, I'm a little confused. Where did I wear it? What is the current situation? Where am I? I can't do it, I have to find a place to wake up. King Fenjuan. The first wife, Mrs. Feng, was reading the ledger in the inner room, when she heard the report from the maid, reporting to Madame, Mammy Zhang is back. Feng put down the ledger and said softly with soft brows, let her come in. Mammy Zhang followed the maid and gave a salute to Mrs. Shitzi, who was sitting on the couch, and said, reporting to Madame, the old slave has already delivered the things to the one from Bamboo Flute Jew according to your instructions, and there are many more people than before. Now. But it seems that it would be more appropriate to support her for a while, so as not to get the word out that we can't accommodate the second daughter, and besides the old lady of the home mansion and the duke's mansion behind her, the lady should be more cautious. The old slave found that the third lady seemed to be much smarter than before, so Madame still thinks about 1 or 2 things in her heart. Feng Shi said disapprovingly after listening to Zhang Ma's words, shrewd, maybe it's right, this motherless child has this serious illness again, almost killing her, so she has to grow up a little bit. But you're right, it's better to be safe, let people stare over there, what the third miss said about Qingyang Mountain. Mother Zhang replied again, I can't see what's on my mind, but it's quite calm to hear it, and asked me to thank Madam on your behalf, saying that you were bothered, and she will write down your favor. Mother Zhang once again told Mrs. Shitzi what happened today at Zudaju and the housekeeper Lida, as well as what the third lady had said, and the eldest maid Wenlan next to the omissions added. After hearing this, Feng squinted her eyes. It is possible that the patient was really shrewd after giving birth. No, it was because she thought too much. She, a teenage girl, couldn't do it deeply. Hidden. End of this chapter. Crossing the Happy Daughter Chapter 10, Long Jingrue's Poison of Jade Fire. Chapter 10 Long Jingrue's Poison of Jade Fire. A courtyard in Qingliang Mountain. In the middle of the night, in a small courtyard hidden in the city, the lights were still on in a room, and a man in black was kneeling on the ground, waiting for the master above him to die. His face was hidden, but the sweat on his head was exposed how nervous he was now. The man sitting at the top had a resolute face and dressed in fancy clothes. If you could ignore the paleness of his face and the fine beads of sweat on his forehead, he was holding back with his eyes closed, but he didn't want to show it. It was exactly what Yuni liked in his previous life. Face type. After about half a stick of incense, the man reluctantly opened his eyes and said hoarsely, "Today, I must let Ini and the others investigate clearly. I want to see who is so deliberate and daring. The people outside have been dealt with cleanly. As for your unfavorable work, go back to Mingyan Pavilion to receive your punishment and retire." The man in black was relieved. He quickly left the room after leaving the room, and he let out a long sigh after exiting the room and walking 100 meters. Fortunately, the master was fine this time, and his life was saved. He can't wait to stab the people who came to the door looking for trouble. This time the matter is that the master doesn't let it go, and he will let people check it out. He dares to design the master and hurt his people. Then don't blame the jade-faced messenger for being ruthless, and there is only one word, death, to oppose the master. And now the person in the room is none other than the Prince Roy Long Jingrue, who has made great military achievements. Today is the night of another full moon, and he brought poison from his mother's womb. Ever since I was a child, every night when the moon is full, there will be 2 layers of ice and fire, the 5 internal organs are unbearably hot, and the body is freezing to the bone. Life is better than death, but after every torture, I survive well. After visiting famous doctors all over the world, they are all helpless, and can only be suppressed by deep inner strength. And after so many years of his illness, if it wasn't for the master who taught him the secret method of his own sect, he would no longer be in the world. The master said that he was most afraid of drinking alcohol before the full moon, which would make the attack worse and prolong the attack time. But today they were careless. No one thought that the wine was placed in an inconspicuous sticky rice ball. If he was still alert, he would induce vomiting after eating one. The result of today can be imagined. In recent months, I feel that I can no longer suppress this poison. Every time I will be suppressed, I don't know how long I can last, but the miracle is that after every incident, my skills will be reduced. Be promoted. The old valley owner of Medicine King Valley once said that only the 1,000-year-old snow fox blood on the Shuling Mountain in Dongjun Kingdom, plus the spiritual crystals that have been blessed by more than 1,000 years of ice crystal aura, can only be released by soaking in the blood for more than 6 hours. The poison of jade fire. The person who made the drug has long since passed away, and there is only one antidote left in the world, which is stored in the Valley of the King of Medicine. But when there was civil strife in Medicine King Valley, a traitor came out of the teacher's door. The antidote was lost in the chaos, and has not yet been found. He has already given up. I can make myself feel less guilty every full moon night. Thinking of this, a wry smile appeared on her mouth. The mother-in-law became ill several times because of this, and she refused to face herself. She ate fasting and chanted Buddha all day, repairing bridges and roads, thinking of accumulating virtue and doing good deeds to pray for herself. Thinking of the concubine's heart is also a pain. I have never seen the concubine smile for so many years. Every time I meet, my face is full of sadness. I feel that I can't be sorry for my son. End of this chapter.